back. How's everyone doing? It's Halloween time, so when you're dealing with kids during Halloween, it can be a little stressful, a little chaotic sometimes. But this week was pretty good. The only issue that I sort of encountered, I think, this whole week was just the kids wanting to roam the campus. There were a lot of activities that were going on our campus. There was like a trick or treating fundraising thing that was a huge success on our campus, where the parent families came, and also the clubs had their fundraisers. So, and the kids dressed up, and I think maybe the parents did. I'm not sure, but it seemed. I saw it from afar, but it seemed like a huge success. I wasn't part of it. I had gone home, but it was after school so that families could participate with their kids. But it seemed the kids seem to always love it. The kids students love Halloween time, um, and but it's always a little chaotic during the week because not a lot gets done, which is something that kind of irritates me a little bit. But it is what it is. We have to work around it. But it was a great. It was a you know it's a good week. Tomorrow is Halloween, and I've told my students, just be on your best behavior. If you're going to be eating candy or whatever, just please don't make a mess, and make sure it doesn't get in the way of your work. And I deal with high school kids, so most of the time they're pretty mature. They can deal with uh, you know eating candy and doing work at the same time. And when I first started teaching, there was a lot of research about allowing kids to snack while they're working, because it helps with their brain. It helps them sort of stay functioning and whatnot. And but then I started to get away from that, and because it was getting a little too much. But for Halloween week, I'm pretty flexible, and I think that's important. That's a good tip. Just be a little bit flexible with your students, because it is a fun time for them, and just try to be easygoing with it. So I had my classroom observation today, and I thought it went pretty well. Um, so I had the agenda set up on my overhead projector, and I put the agenda in Google Classroom. I put it on the announcements page because it's a very it's you can manage everything in there. You can put worksheets in there. You can attach worksheets. You can click on the worksheets and go over it with them. And so, uh, Google Classroom is really great, and it should be free to you if you have it available, hopefully. And so, I had my opener, and everything on the agenda was basically directions for the students as well. And I think that's very key. You have to treat your classroom observation as sort of like you're a director of a movie, right? I mean, that's life, right? You have to treat it as if you're a director of a movie. And so I basically put everything on there. I let the students know, please get into Google Classroom right away as soon as you're seated, so that we follow this agenda. Participate. Sometimes you have to remind them to participate. I kind of kicked it up a notch, and I gave them treats, little candies. They love Swedish fish, the little gummies. So I bought them that, and I also bought them, pencils, Halloween pencils, and Halloween post-its. They didn't. Some of them didn't take the pencils. They just left it behind. But they certainly enjoyed the Swedish fish. I just noticed that I remember I was uh, helping out with one of the theater productions, and I was helping with selling the snacks and whatnot, and the Swedish fish and the gummies and the sour patch candies were selling out like crazy. Nothing else was selling out other than those, so I knew that the kids would love those. So every time they participated today, I gave them a candy, or would toss it to them or hand it to them. I think it's always better to hand it to them, but if the kid is close, if the student is close to you, you can kind of toss it to them. But they were fully engaged, and they actually, even before the classroom observation, they are pretty engaged. They participate, but for a classroom observation is essential for kids to participate because it shows engagement. And you could make it fun. You could play games with them. You could do a class dojo, or different things you can do. I'm pretty old school. Like, I'll just ask them, quick questions, and then if they answer them, I give them a treat. And just general, just sort of, fun, engaging questions about themselves as well. How's your day going? Are you guys having fun this week and whatnot? And then I get into the agenda. So I have my agenda, and each item is an activity or something I'm going to do, or they're going to do, or we're going to do together. And I put I put how many minutes I'm going to spend on these activities, and I think that's important too, because you only have 50 minutes, right, to do things with your students. And so it's important to put times on time sections on each item you're going to do. So I put, for the opener, it's always best to be quick, 5 minutes, quick 5 minute thing. And then the bigger things, like going over a worksheet or going over something that they're struggling with, is important. I'm a fan of, going over things that they need help with, right? You always want to ask them, what they need help with, what they need, what things they think they need to improve on, right? Self-reflect. So the lesson is, it is a lesson, it's structured. I know exactly what I'm going to be teaching them, but I also want them to self-reflect. So what about these things do students want to improve on, or or learn more about, things like that, so they can become better students. So each item had timed activities, and then at the end they were just reminders and an exit survey. Always do an exit survey. I always try to do some sort of an exit survey. It could be verbal. It could be on a Google Doc, a Google Sheet. It could be on anything. It could be a simple quick write, right? It could be very easy, very simple. But the lesson did go. I felt pretty okay. I never always tout myself with lessons, because students are human, and while we are structured and we want things to go perfectly that day or every day, students are human. They need to use the restroom, they need to go, they get called out. We get calls for them to go to attendance office or go to one of the offices, and so we have to remember that. So I always try to remember that, because I'm human, and things happen. We may be having a perfect day, but something could happen. It can go from a perfect day to a not so great day. So, but it went pretty okay, and the kids were great. So I said, if you're on your best behavior, you will get these rewards. And these are all rewards I already embed in my daily routine with them, but I especially told them that if everything goes well, you'll get this, and that. And I think it's important to reward them if they do what you say, and follow through on that. And I told them, I said, I'm going to follow through on everything I'm going to give you. So I promised them a day of where they can choose to either work on their computers or get caught up with things, or work for other classes, because they really, they do like to work for other classes, especially if they're not doing well in those classes and have a ton of missing assignments. I also promised them that I wouldn't mark them tardy. Now, I don't know what your attendance policy is, but it's pretty flexible on our campus. So if I decide, let's say a kid is late and it's a cut, I told them that, I'd remove that cut, but that's just something that, I do. And obviously you have to follow your classroom, your school's policies, and if you can't, if those cuts remain, those cuts remain, then that's it. But I'm allowed to, to help them in that area. I told them just for 5 days. So I also told them that I'd wait until, the feedback from my evaluator went okay. And that's when I will make sure that they get what I promised them. But other than that, it went pretty well. The kids were great, and they're always great. I did it first period. Now, first they always say first periods are probably the calmest, they're the quietest because it's first period. Now, I've had some first periods where they weren't the best, so I wouldn't choose that period to do my observation. So when you're tenured, you choose which period you want to do, and I'm not too sure how they do it. I'm not tenured. I'm not probationary anymore, so I'm not sure how they do it with the probationary employees on our campus. But we got to choose which period we wanted to do it. Now, I have all my periods are pretty good, but there's always there's levels of ones that aren't, I feel like they I'm not too sure how they would act. But my period was great, they were great, and I'm going to make sure and give them what they deserve once the my results come in. But also, I didn't just give them candy. I gave them, like little post-its, things that, they can use that are academically helpful for them. Because I get kids all the time that don't have pencils, lose their pencils, lose things, lose paper, lose this, lose that, and that's just part of being a teenager. And like what are your, they're still trying to figure out their priorities when they get into high school because they're coming from middle school where it's still kind of elementary school, but yet there's that transition to the teachers are going to, help them get ready for high school, right? So it went well. It is Halloween tomorrow, so I don't expect a lot to be done, but I think if you keep your classroom structured, they will get it done. If you tell them, this, you need to get work done, you need to get this and that done, they will get it done. They will, you know, uh, rise to the occasion. I have great students this year for the most part, and they've been really great. So that's all I have today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Halloween. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite times of year because it's fun. It's fall. It's like a reminder. This is fall. The leaves are falling. The weather is changing. Excuse me, my throat. I haven't been feeling well lately. These past couple of days, just because I've been overwhelmed with my book and just trying to get that pushed out. But that's about all I have to say. Have a very happy Halloween. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And I will see you when I see you. Take care.